Then Nero revs his sword. Then he rides it like a skateboard. And
the sorter cycle.
The sorter
that was
cycle.
good. Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Hey.
And this is episode 470. And the question of the week is, what's a game from your childhood that most people wouldn't even know exists?
I have a good answer for this, but when I looked it up, because
You couldn't find it.
first of all, I couldn't find it, so that's a good sign that I was on the right track. But second of all, once I found out like who published it, I was like, oh, maybe a lot of people do know this. It's called Microsoft Fury 3.
That's a great answer because guess what?
What?
I've never heard of it before.
Good.
Yeah,
I didn't know
same.
it was called Microsoft Fury 3. I didn't know what it was called, but it's this pilot game that they used to sell Windows 95. Like, they marketed it as like it comes with it packaged or something like that. So it was meant to only sell the OS. And it is a first-person pilot shooting game, but like futuristic and weird. It's like burned into my memory that you fight a giant cobra in a desert, and that's how I found it. I Googled that, and someone on Reddit Googled the exact same thing or asked people the exact same thing, and then they found it, and it's awesome. It's terrible.
That is such a good entry. That's phenomenal.
That's a great answer.
And
yeah.
Fury 3. So there's two before, I think.
I don't think so.
So that's even weirder.
I'm
You don't
looking.
think so either? Yeah, I feel
don't-
like it might just be called Fury 3.
It is not a sequel. It's not. Yeah, it's not a sequel. It's just called Fury 3, which it's Fury
What?
cubed is the idea.
Okay, sure. That's wild. And I played that game so much with my dad. I don't know why.
That's so
On our
good.
Windows
We're not going to
98
keep that.
bonkers.
computer.
Kenny?
Yeah, Nolan knew he had a good answer. I don't feel like I have a great answer. I'm certain there are more obscure things I played because I did lots of PC and went through the whole like shareware era of games.
Oh.
And like I guarantee
That's
something
a deep rabbit hole.
I grabbed on a floppy and like 12 of us played, but I don't remember any of those like off the top of my head. So what I'm going to go with is, and I've talked about this game before, I'm sure someone has played it, but I doubt it was super popular. The Nintendo NES title Wheel of Fortune.
I think it's a little bit more popular than you'd give it credit
had
for.
that game. And
Most
know what you're
likely.
talking
They made a
about.
show out of
Yeah.
it.
No, that's not. That's funny. That's actually a good joke.
Thank you.
And I'm like surprised. Yeah, it's probably more popular than I remember. But why they would make that game of all games and on the NES, and it just feels like it should be obscure, even if it isn't.
I probably mentioned it before to you guys. You probably don't remember it, which is fine. Maybe you will when I say it. I follow a guy on Twitch that speedruns mini games. One of them is that Wheel of Fortune game.
I think when
How
I've brought it
fast?
up before, I think you've told me that, and
I don't know how
makes
fast,
me
but
laugh every time.
How outrageous that's
That
one of
is
the games that he
outrageous.
speedruns.
No, that's crazy.
That's I think great entry. I've got two. One, and I brought up the first one before, and then my memory was able to trigger the second one. It's around the same time in my life. One, we've got it on our retro master list. It has never been pulled. We haven't played it. It's called Lester the Unlikely. It is a 1994 platformer for the Super Nintendo where you are this nerdy, like unconfident, just weirdo that is having to save this like beautiful maiden. I don't know,
Sure.
but like
Yeah.
the
Sure.
platforming's. I think I've mentioned it before
Like
because like
IRL.
some of the games we played that have kind of this weird like real person animation platforming kind of things reminds me of it sometimes.
No, I know you've brought it up. I don't know in what context, but
I
when you
think
say that,
I
I'm like,
do.
oh, that's totally a game you played.
The Game Store Challenge, did you buy that physical? I think you did, because I remember us being like, huh?
I don't know if he did, but I think he may have seen one.
was
And like
something-
we talked, it was something there.
Something around
I
that
don't
time,
remember.
which is great. Okay.
Okay.
I've got one other one. I bet that you, Nolan, maybe have seen the movie because it's a game based on a
Oh, God.
Sylvester Stallone movie
Okay.
called Cliffhanger.
I've never seen that.
Yep, movie's terrible.
Oh, so you know Kenny, you know the movie.
I know
knows
of the movie. I didn't know they made a game. Of
Yeah,
it.
this one's NES, I think.
Has to
NES
be.
and Super Nintendo. I played the Super Nintendo version, I think.
Oh, okay.
1993, 1994. So same era. I was right, yeah. And it was one of those that was very hard and like I could never get past even
Yeah.
like the second stage, but it was a little iconic. I hope it's on our Retro Master list. I didn't check on this one, but I'd love to
I got
revisit
you.
that one someday. What, to put it on our Retro Master list?
No, I'll
oh, no,
check
it's
to
there.
see
It's
if it's
there.
there. It is there.
Oh, but the Atari ST version.
Oh, it was on
Oh,
other
gross.
things.
I'm not playing that.
Gross. I feel like the mental space I didn't plumb here is like homeroom period in middle school on like Mac computers,
Wow.
like
Mm.
edutainment games.
PC.
Because there were some
Yeah.
wild ones that were very like specific to the time.
I've got another one for you from the same computer that I played Fury Cubed on. Was some Magic School Bus edutainment game. I don't remember the name of it. Maybe that's not that obscure, but
I'm sure that one's more popular just by the nature of
it was so
how
sick, dude.
awesome the Magic School Bus
Golly.
is. Yeah,
I love that era.
get out of here.
Can we go back to Sylvester Stallone for just a second? Not
Sure.
because of the segue or anything, but he
Yeah,
was he
okay.
the reason the movie was bad, or was he the saving grace of the movie from your recollection?
He
Kenny?
really doesn't care about the answer. He needs Sylvester
Just give me.
for
give me-
I
the
don't-
segue.
I
Let's talk
think
about
he's-
Sylvester.
I think he was the reason the movie existed.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he
I,
was making all kinds. Like he was probably
Of
wanting
movies.
to make it badly.
Do you know that he's the one of the two most successful actors of maybe all time? Him and Harrison Ford span the most decades of having number one box office hits
I'll buy it.
every decade. I think
Oh.
60 years, 6 decades of number one
That's crazy.
box office, which is crazy. I call
Okay.
his name, by the way, is Sylvester Sly Stallone. Have you
That's
heard,
his
I don't know
middle
if you've
name.
heard that before, or as
Yeah.
I like to call him, SSS. The most successful actor of all time and the highest rank in our retro game of the week, Devil May Cry 4.
Overview.
In 2008, Capcom decided to revolutionize the video game industry
Oh,
by
Rev.
bringing the fourth. Ooh,
That's
Rev
the
would
route I
have been
should
a-
have gone.
That would have been a better segue.
Almost as good as my Triple X.
Almost as good. By bringing the fourth title in the Devil May Cry series to everything. They decided to drop this big old title on Windows,
Who is this
Xbox
guy?
360, PlayStation 3. And did I already say Microsoft Windows? I did.
Nice momentum. Keep
are
it
you,
going,
dude?
Kenny.
In this game, you play as Nero.
You're up to 8 rank.
You're a new character
Yeah.
who's a demon hunter. You got a gun. You got a sword.
You
got
don't.
Nero does.
Yeah, but when you were playing in your first play, you only had a gun, apparently. I don't think you used a sword one
Okay,
time.
I used it
The spamming
once or
emitter was so-
twice.
I don't think you used your sword.
I know I used my sword because there's a place that you can't get by unless you interact with an interactable that takes your sword.
But
so
that's the thing.
Pachatia. Nero is a young demon hunter who is new to this series. You're not Dante anymore, and you're a member of the Order of the Sword. This is the knights who are fighting demons and stuff. You quickly get swept up in all sorts of adventures, but mostly you take out your sword that's possessed by the spirit of a motorcycle and kill a bunch of stuff.
God.
Very good. I know so much about Devil May Cry 4 now.
Wow, my
Thank you.
goodness. So we had played the first Devil May Cry back in, I don't know, 7 years ago, whatever that math is,
Long time ago.
for episode 128.
Couldn't listen to the episode. Tried.
Couldn't bring yourself to do it?
Could not bring myself to do it, so go ahead and skip that one. It was a long time ago, and it's unfortunate that we skipped 3 games. I'll just say that because I was excited to come back to the series. I was because I really enjoyed the first one. We don't really played the first one, right? We did not play 2.
We've only played the first one.
Okay, yeah, skipping that many games sucks.
And do you know from 7 years ago, I still have in my mind the scene when he's inside of a bar, a building, and takes a motorcycle and picks it up with his hand and throws it in the wall or something along those lines.
Yeah, like, it's crazy.
The chaotic, over-the-top nature of the Devil May Cry series has remained. Like, this is more of that.
And maybe grown. Like, it's now 4 series deep of them leaning in really hard. I love what somebody said. I don't normally, like, read on the show commentary people make on our first plays. But in the first play this week, I said something like, this game may not be my cup of tea. And somebody said, tea? This game is not tea. This game is Red Bull and vodka. Like, it's just so wild and crazy and over the top.
It is Capcom. And Capcom's never been afraid to go crazy. And that's what I love about them. Just because of how distinct their series end up being. They have a lot of personality. I mean, even Resident Evil, like RE4 is a good example of like, I mean, he's roundhouse kicking zombies in the face. Like, come on.
That's the
tamest thing. That's the tamest thing. What I love about Kenny's first play is how many times he had to say, like, stop and acknowledge how crazy it was getting. And like every time it seemed like he was thinking, okay, that's probably as crazy it's gonna get. Then Nero revs his sword. Then he rides it like a skateboard, and
the sorter cycle.
The sorter cycle.
Good. Well, I gotta all of that makes sense when you realize that Kenny's most played game week to week right now is chess. This is the opposite of chess.
Holy crap!
Like this is the stark opposite.
Why did we make him play this?
Of chess. Oh, it's always great when Kenny has to play a game that is so dynamically different than he is as an individual.
Yeah.
But speaking of Capcom, the only reason I'm an idiot in life is because I have something's wrong with me in that I think that when I think Capcom, I just think Mega Man and Street Fighter, which is true. But if you're only thinking that, you're so wrong.
Yeah, it's definitely a disservice to them. They've got a deeper and wider
I wouldn't
repertoire.
say that's a disservice. That's 2 of the greatest franchises. Like those are mega fighters. But
they run deep. Like one, do you know about Dead Rising? The Dead Rising games?
Zombie,
yeah. Again,
zombie
but
time
in a mall.
Right.
And like
over the top. Maybe
so many over the top things.
Resident Evil is over the top.
Yeah, all of them.
Ace Attorney. Yeah. They're responsible for Ace Attorney, and that's over the top. That's silly.
Monster
That's crazy.
Hunter, like,
Monster Hunter. Devil May Cry. Yeah. So like I need to realize, and many of us need to realize that Capcom is more than you've pigeonholed them to be.
Yeah, Monster Hunter.
Yeah, Nolan did say that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, also Monster Hunter?
Resident Evil and Devil May Cry.
I think they make Mega Man as well.
We now have a bonus episode exclusive for those on Patreon.
Episode is not an over-exaggeration. It's a full episode.
And it's an episode that you get to be a part of.
Yeah, it's called Expansion Pack, and semi-regularly, you get to be a part of the conversation. And we're going to debate, and we're going to scream at each other.
We're going to talk about video games. Yeah, we're going to scream mostly, though. That's kind of the point of it.
It'll be like goats.
You roast us, we roast you. Find out more information at patreon.com/NGP podcast.
Gameplay.
Just like the over-the-top nature of the series that we knew in the first game, I was also happy to see that they stuck to their roots in terms of the gameplay setup and mechanics, for the most part. An untrained eye would call this game a button masher. Would you guys call it that? I think that's a fair is it a genre? People use that term a lot, and I always read it negatively, but I don't think it is.
I don't think it's necessarily a negative thing to say that. I don't know if you're meaning that or if you're meaning that this is a button masher. I also didn't put that anywhere in my notes. I mean, like, you're mashing buttons. I don't think you're mashing one button over and over again. That's not what this game is made for. And if you're doing that, you're going to be having a bad time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
you're going to be getting D's.
You're going to be in
correct.
D's.
He wrote that in his notes just to make sure he's going to get the joke across. I think this is more akin to like a Street Fighter. It's a fighter. You're doing combos. You're needing to do combos.
I'm glad
string
you
together
said
combos.
that.
It's not only that. There's so much more to it, but
It is. It's. I like that you said that because this game, in many ways, to me, is an arcade game, and there's a few reasons
I
why.
get that.
interesting.
I totally buy that logic.
One, it's not. It's on a home console, and it never has been
Sure.
an arcade game. But it has so many elements that I associate.
We're talking
with arcades.
vibes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Capcom, number one, they know arcade games. Fighting
Monster Hunter.
fighting games, in terms of like, inputs and combos, the feedback you get for those combos, and the score that you're racking up. There's a lot of arcade elements to this. So yeah, Street Fighter totally. I wouldn't call it a. I would call it a button masher. I don't mean you're pressing the same button the whole time, but that is the nature of the combat. And in 4, they've kept that relatively the same from, I guess, the previous games. I've only played one.
To be clear, the whole point is to not push the same button the whole time, because you're getting these bonus points, which are kind of the main thing you're doing. I mean, you're killing demons. That's the story. But the main gameplay hook is chain your combos of moves in a way that lasts as long as it can, that gives as much variety of moves, that gives them the coolest
That
points
looks
for
the coolest,
style in
really.
your moves,
Yeah.
and that helps you get to that point of having the higher grades as the game is like assessing what you're doing. And repeating the same move over and over is not going to be as conducive to that as like creative combos of specific and correct situational moves based on what's going on in the game.
So you like previous games in the series, I believe all of them. So in the main line, you are put into various set pieces where you, as Nero in third person, must fight through enemies, demons, typically in style. That's the whole point.
Lots of them.
Lots of them. You also solve light puzzles along the way. There's some light platforming along the way. You watch a lot of cutscenes along the way. But you, as Nero, who you're playing for a lot of this game, you have 3 primary weapons. You have got your Red Queen sword, which is Y or triangle. It's your top face button. And then you've got your Blue Rose revolver, which is the gun. So that's square or, whatever equivalent. And then you've got your circle button, which is your Devil Bringer. So this is something that the original character didn't have. Dante didn't have, but Nero does. He's got a special hand that a power fist that allows him to throw and pull and toss and slam and do all sorts of really over the top.
It's really awesome.
But you are, fighting. Your goal is to fight with style. So it is using unique combinations to chain together combos. Also, you'll, over the course of the stages, unlock new moves. You can purchase and unlock new move sets. So instead of triangle, triangle, triangle for a normal combo, you can triangle, pause, triangle, triangle, and that will do a different kind of move set. But you want to combo together your sword and your gun and your arm and your movement, and you want to change it up between all the enemies, because at the end of each stage you're given a grade based off of a variety of things, anywhere from D at the lowest to the great segue, triple S at the top if you were the best of the best.
If you had smoking sick style.
That's what it stands for.
That's
That is
what
what it
it
stands
stands for.
Which
apparently.
is just indicative of what this game is like.
Absolutely.
Smoking sick style, like They know what they're
Yeah,
doing.
it's absolutely over the top. I have to say, there's a lot of things that this game does like in excess, and it knows it. That's its vibe. And I will go on record as saying half motorcycle, half sword is a terrible idea.
That's
and
not
we're
what
allowed-
it is.
It is, and we're allowed to make fun of it. But no one can convince me that naming your weapons isn't just a classy move.
Yes, that makes
It's
it so much better.
Absolutely,
Buster
it's
sword.
absolutely classic, and I love that he has that red queen
Red
strapped
queen,
to his
yeah.
back. I love that he's got that blue rose on his hip, and that even
cool.
his weird possessed freak hand he gave a name to. And it's a great kit.
That hand, by the way, is super sick and adds a lot, in my opinion, to the combo style of this game. Like,
A ton.
yeah, like
And it's powerful, dude.
it's
And
very strong.
The fact that it can it
Grapple?
serves so many purposes, because like it moves you around the map. It's your main like map utility outside of jumping, and then like double jumping once you upgrade yourself and whatever else and some other cool things. But like it's your main like unique mobility move. But then it also is pulling enemies towards you, or when you need to, or against like cool bosses or things that are much bigger than you, pulling you to the enemy. And it's like the hook shot, but like more, I don't know, demonic. It's great.
The you do get to play as Dante in this game later, and Dante, I think, has his same setup. So he does not have the arm like Nero has, but he does have the fighting styles. And if you remember from the first one, like I do, you had those styles, and you like leaned into them and like picked them per mission, and they were like completely different setups and like combos and moves and stuff like that. In this one, you can switch in battle
Quick change.
those styles,
Yeah,
which
between
is
those
super
styles.
cool.
Yep.
And also like is such a I feel like would kind of become a staple for action games like this. Like I just played Final Fantasy 16, and every time we talk about it, we always mention Devil May Cry, but it's true. Like it's the same thing. You're swapping mid-combat, using different weapons, building up combos, and exploiting enemy weaknesses. And like, I think 4 was the first one that lets you do that mid-battle like that, and I think it's better that way because it opens up the game a lot, I think, to the player.
One of the things I appreciate about the combo set in here is that you are purchasing, the upgrades that you want over time. There's not an overwhelming amount of them, and not all of them are even combo moves. So some of them are, as Kenny talked about, like maneuvering, abilities, and maybe one extends your one of your gauges or different things. But there are some combo extenders or different things like that. But it's not an overwhelming amount. One of the things that overwhelms me in traditional fighters is trying to learn a move set. How am I going to know 60 moves for one character that's different from the 60 moves of another character? It's overwhelming. In this one, I felt like there was a healthy amount in that I could remember a lot of them because, one, I'm only purchasing one every few missions. And I was able to figure out a rhythm that really worked for me. I had a preferable combo that I would use to really get my rank up quick. And then I would just switch around, and it felt really good with switching between the gun, long range. I used that, I'm telling you, that arm to grapple and pull them to you. But
it's
also,
the best thing.
like in one of the next few missions, you've got an enemy that you can grab. If you press that hand ability again, you just start swinging them around and toss them at another enemy. Like, I'm just, there was not too many abilities or combos that felt overwhelming to me. You do have to learn some of them, but they're not over the top. They're not as over the top as the rest of the game is, and they're relatively easy to do for someone like me who doesn't excel with fighters.
It's a very fluid system. It feels really good, and I felt like, trying to remember back to the first game, this felt, I was playing on normal or whatever they call it.
Easy.
It felt relatively easy to me in comparison to what I remember about the first game, because the first game did have a nice challenge to it, and maybe that was due in part to some of the clunkiness that might have been present in that first one, but this one's starting to feel, I mean, PS3, it's starting to feel good.
I also felt like it was easier. Two things. One, I think fans of the series typically say that the stages are relatively easy. It's about getting the style points, not about succeeding. And the bosses are typically more of the challenge. So that might be some of it here. Two, that was the first one. The second one is I do think it had to do probably with, so I chose human like Kenny did this week. Just that's the difficulty mode.
Yeah.
And I just think that makes it just way too easy probably. Like if you want actual more challenge. But I don't even think this game is really all about the challenge as much as it is about the challenge is to get the style points.
Yeah.
Right.
To get a better score.
I still would recommend if people asked, probably play as Demon Hunter or whatever that middle.
Yeah.
I would say at least go up. Yeah, don't start with human because it is. I mean, I did not struggle this week.
You may be a human, but your character is certainly more than, and he can handle it.
Certainly more than. Even if you skip the tutorial, Kenny.
Which
the first time you ever skip the tutorial and you need it the most.
No, you don't need it the most. There wasn't that much to figure out here. You push buttons.
You didn't use the sword.
I absolutely used the sword. I couldn't have progressed if I hadn't. Just because I button mash and have preferences doesn't mean
you also missed a big chunk of the story.
Anything.
Like that tutorial section opens up. I guess you got the fight in the chapel. Maybe.
Yeah, he still fought.
You still get that. You're just watching the like edited down version of my experience. Like there was a bunch of stuff I cropped out.
So. By the way, I loved the intro to this game before you even, like the credit sequence before you get to the title menu, and it's like the opera scene and then
opera and
slow-mo demon killing. So good. I love that, and I thought it was really cinematic, really self-aware, and it was a good start to the game.
Well, and that's the thing for the series. You just said self-aware. I think you've got to understand that coming in, because if they were taking themselves seriously, we would all roll our eyes and move on. But they know what they're doing. They know it's over the top because they make the most over-the-top choices. When Gloria was revealed, I don't know if y'all remember her by name, but you'll remember her by body. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous.
The camera, the clothes, or lack thereof. It's
everything
insane.
About it is a ridiculous choice. But again, it's the
shtick.
That is the vibe here. It's their shtick. They are catering hard to that.
Anime fans, really.
7th grade kid in their mom's basement person that dwells in all of our hearts somewhere.
What 7-year-old kid stuck in a basement?
7th grade.
If you drink Prime, you will probably like this.
What?
That's for sure. That's for sure. It's
Prime's good.
So, did y'all like the story? I think there's a lot of story here. There's a lot of cut scenes. It's really just moving you to the next set piece. But I mean, there's a story here, and with Nero, the world, or he's just hunting after. He's hunting after the demons, but he's going after Dante, right? Like that's the main thing for a while.
And I feel like this one did feel like it had a little bit more story than what I remember from the first one. There's a lot of cutscenes, and I enjoyed them. Okay, Nero, I'm kind of cool on. He's whatever. I prefer Dante for sure.
Most of the series fans do.
Okay. Really? Maybe it's because I don't play a lot of the series, but I really enjoyed Nero.
And I'm with you, Kenny, but we don't play the series.
Fine.
It's just that Devil Bringer
skill
set is
it's
so
the hand.
like
Y'all
that's.
love the hand.
I want a power glove to be on my hand, and then freak mutant radioactive accident or something, and like I become a superhero.
The sword has a throttle. It's actually crazy.
Which we didn't even talk about.
That's a mistake.
And it doesn't
the hand is cool.
You can rev up that sword in battle, and if you rev it up correctly, like vroom, 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 then it fills up to 3 bars, making your next attacks extra strong.
Of course.
I mean,
you gotta lean in.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
It's
ridiculous.
Overall, about the story, yes, I enjoy it. I can't get over the fact that I've skipped 3 games.
Yeah,
or 2 games.
Painful.
Does that make sense?
I don't. Yes, and I typically agree, but I don't know if we're
I think I'm
missing
missing a
anything here
ton.
necessarily.
Sure, I agree,
Because
but-
like at least so far in my gameplay, I don't really know who Nero is, but I don't think anybody did at this time.
Right.
I know that
It's
that
a
was
write-in
Dante that showed
situation.
up and kills a religious figure right in front of you that you kind of are working with. So then you've got to chase after him. And so like a lot of the story that's unfolding here, maybe there is lore that's connected to previous games that we're missing, but I feel like a lot of the story was at least self-contained enough for me I wasn't lost.
I wasn't lost. It's just the world you're in.
Yeah.
I felt like an imposter jumping to 4,
Ooh,
but
same.
it's the nature of the podcast. I will say Nero had a good first impression on me in that scene with the sermon going on, and he's got a headset. He's got his headphones around his neck listening.
Bumping
I liked
music.
that, but he just annoyed me in those cutscenes. I don't know.
I don't know. I think all of these characters are
They're
extreme
obnoxious.
in
Yeah,
whatever their personality is. It's extreme.
What was her
If-
name
right,
that you
if-
said? Gloria? Is that her name?
Gloria? Yeah.
That just briefly, the intro is just her. It's her fighting, but the camera's panning to all her private parts.
All her
It's
parts.
ridiculous. Like it's crazy.
It's how I would want to be introduced if I showed
Yeah.
up on the scene.
Right.
Aged.
I mean, let's just get it out there because we were just talking about it. Devil May Cry is a massive series spanning multiple media. We played Devil May Cry, the first one, but there's Devil May Cry the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, most recently in 2019. Still not very recent, but
Correct.
Is that
then
2019? Golly.
yeah. Then there are comic books, novels, 2 animated series. Guys, I saw someone drop this week in the chat. I don't know when it was announced. Devil May Cry, is it Netflix? Yeah,
Oh wow.
a
An
doesn't
anime.
new.
Doesn't
a-
surprise me.
Yes. The series is scheduled for release. Oh my goodness, this timing. April 3rd, 2025. That's a week. That's
Oh
less
my
than that's this
gosh.
week as the episode releases.
They did it because we played
They-
this game.
They got together when we pulled this and decided to create an adult animated urban fantasy action television series based on the Japanese video game franchise of the same
week.
name by Capcom.
Yeah, and they did it in a week.
It's anime. Probably
Ted.
It's
right.
gotta be.
I mean, Ted. Anime Ted. I don't know. It's Devil May Cry upcoming.
Wow.
It doesn't say anime on here anywhere, but
Well,
whoa, the
it
opening
probably
theme is
wouldn't.
"Rollin'" by Limp Bizkit. That's actually
Are
perfect.
you serious?
That's actually perfect.
It's
I might
exactly
watch
what this game needs.
I don't have a show right now. I might watch this. I own Devil May Cry 5. I bought
Well,
it
you
in
gotta
a.
play 2, 3, 4.
I know.
Sometime-
I've put it
Sometimes
off.
Nolan just says things, and it's like we're not surprised, but we're also a little bit shocked.
I haven't played it on purpose because I want to. I want to play the other ones. And
Don't wait
I
for
mean,
us to
just
pull it
messed-
on the podcast. It's gonna take too long.
I might though. I'm interested to play 2 and 3, and I want to watch this new animated show.
Well, you got some work to do.
I know.
Graphics and music. It's look. I didn't
Bro,
even write anything about
PS3.
them, and do you know why? Because this game is not retro.
It's past the point. It's past the point where you have to comment on it because
Right.
PS3 had fantastic graphics and still
Yeah, for the most
does.
part.
I mean, Final Fantasy 13 I think was the last PS3 game we played. No, COD 4 I think was. We've played so many. All look fantastic, and this one looks pretty good still. There's a the special edition is like updated.
Like, yes.
So
it
I'm
looks
answering
nice.
that question based on the original, not the
Ah.
special edition one. And I still think it looks good.
Yeah, the fact that this is barely retro by our definition, which is fine. Like, I think it's certainly an older game now, but it's crazy just how, I don't know, old we're getting.
Hey.
We're at a point where some of these games can look really, really great, but that also means that we're at a point where they should like function like
Ooh.
they're games that look really great. And I meant to bring this up in gameplay, so we're circling back a little bit. I felt like the camera here was kind of terrible given when this game came out. This is not a 2002 title where they're still figuring out how to do that. And it was clunky to me the whole week and never felt really good. It made me feel like the game was a decade older than it was, outside of the fact that it looks sharp, and that was a real frustration.
I agree with you, Kenny.
It didn't bother me that much, but I think your argument is completely valid. It's this weird thing that they're doing. It's kind of in a lot of things. They've got a preset camera angle because they want to show you the set, and we've experienced that before. Resident Evil does that, but they also give you control of it. So I think between those two things, it gets in places you don't need it to be.
It kind of it kind of pushes back on you when you're like moving around the room.
Trying to go back to that preset design. Yeah.
A lot of games were doing that at this time. Final Fantasy 13-2 is doing that to me currently.
Hey.
I don't love it, Kenny. I think that part doesn't match the visuals, like you were saying.
Same.
But like, it still looks amazing.
But the rest of it looks really nice. Absolutely.
Yeah, and they're showing that off.
Are interesting. Yeah.
With those camera angles, and I think it's not gonna make you, I don't know, it might frustrate you to the point of quitting, but it wasn't that bad.
The music unfortunately doesn't have Rollin' by Limp Bizkit, but it's got the equivalent. It's it's
I
just,
want to say, but it could.
I don't remember
all
any
of it
the
is
songs,
that vibe,
but
rock.
it's the
It's just
over top
guitar.
rock. Yeah, but it fits, right? I mean,
Of course.
Yeah.
And I did dig that opera sequence. I thought that was fun. But like, it's fine.
Lyrically, it felt a little cheesy, but again, the line for me of like, we're trying to be like cool and over the top, but in like a fun, silly way, versus like we're trying to also actually be cool and fun and entertaining, and so like we're making a thing, but now it's almost a parody of itself. Sometimes it's a little blurrier than I'd like it to be, and I think the lyrics in those songs is a place that I was like, this feels more like they kind of missed it than we're just like cheesy and self-aware. Like, you could have done better.
What were they saying?
I forget that whole intro scene though. Everything they talked about, I was like, come on, y'all could be better than this.
let me make one other complaint, and this is with design. So, I mean, I'm sure it is exacerbated by the aging, but some of the way that these environments are set up, some of them, is that like you're vertically platforming, but if you do something wrong in a puzzle solving sequence or you fall down in a pit, you have to fight. Your punishment is you have to fight a group of enemies. But if you go up and you fail again, you have to fight the enemies again before the door opens and you can get through. And then that can happen over and over and over again until you solve the puzzle correctly. And I just don't think that is that creative, and I think that doing it multiple times, it was multiple times where that happened to me. And I know you're better gamers, so you probably didn't.
Yeah, I didn't
fall into those traps.
Puzzles.
Wow.
No,
But
I lived that loop a few times, Dustin.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
They
could have done something there, even make you repeat
once.
it 2 or 3 times. Yeah, once or twice, and then like just make you run back up the stairs or whatever instead of having to do the whole fight again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's still annoying, but like not quite so much. I almost turned the game off at one point when there was one of those that was like extra annoying, and I just kept failing at it, and I was like, I don't want to fight this a 5th time right now.
Right.
Like, this is annoying. So I feel that for sure.
We talked about the special edition. It's a remaster in 2015. They improved some of the visual effects.
I think.
PS4? That makes sense. PC as well, I would imagine. I believe. But they improved some of the visual effects, textures. Did some
Playable
in-game
characters.
rebalancing, and that's the big thing. 3 bonus playable characters.
Is it 3?
So, like,
that's sick.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the stages are the same, but you've got a new intro and outro sequence, and then also they play differently. So they did create new move sets, I believe, for these characters. So it's probably worth dabbling in for people that are playing the game, but only like hardcore completionists would want to play like full games with each of these characters, because you're not really getting a fully new experience, I would say.
Sure.
So if you want a copy of Devil May Cry, they'd probably just say, hey, buy the special edition remaster on PC when it's on sale. I think it's normally $25, but you can probably find that on sale for a fraction of that.
Like, even 25 is such a good deal for this game, for like all that.
Yeah. If you want a physical copy for either your PlayStation 3 or your Xbox 360, they're around the same
be cheap.
price. Before I tell the prices, I do need to say this. We've had comments in the past on how I do this portion and some complaints by retro gamers, which we are
Okay.
not. No, I'm just kidding. We are, but Knucklehead most recently wrote in a very kind.
Is that his
email.
name, or is that what you're calling him?
Both. Knucklehead wrote in, and the subject line is a nitpick, comma, but a fair nitpick, which allow us to decide if it's fair, Knucklehead. Started really nice. Started listening to you guys recently with your most recent retro recap, and now I'm all caught up. Time to go back to the beginning and make my way back. You guys have some of the best chemistry out of any podcast I've listened to.
Hey, thanks.
The only gripe I have with the show, and then it's
Something
paragraphs.
he does every episode.
Paragraphs. Paragraphs. Multiple paragraphs. Explaining that how I do this portion is not a fair representation of the current cost of the game, because I typically say the used or loose cost. He's fine with that. And then I usually say the new cost. He's not fine with that, because what
Grading?
most retro gamers are looking for is the complete in box. They're not looking for new cellophane wrapped whatever. They're just looking for new complete in box. So,
box.
Knucklehead
Are you
and all
are
others.
you changing?
Yes, you get your wish. From now on, I will give the loose price, I will give the complete in box price, and I will give the brand new price. That's probably what I'm going to do. I don't know
Okay.
if that's the order.
Wow.
We give the Chinese knockoff of new, but it's inauthentic price.
Should I keep adding? Is what you're saying?
$5.
We're gonna
Yeah,
get tons
we're
of
gonna
new-
we'll get to where we've got so many categories.
Complete.
No, it's actually.
I think it's a fair nitpick.
I think it's a great
Oh,
addition. So
okay,
I'm
so
with you.
good subject
Yeah,
title.
The knit has been picked.
Yeah. So, all that being said, Devil May Cry 4, between $5 and $8 loose, depending on which console we're talking about. So very cheap.
Okay.
If you do want it complete in box, that's only $6 to $13. Cheap. Yeah,
Really?
complete in box, bro.
Wow.
That is
6 to 13.
crazy.
And then if you want it
Lots of
new,
these.
this is listen, new, $20 to $32.
That's cheaper than just
So-
downloading it.
Yeah, what's
mean-
going on here?
Well, PS3, like I just have vivid memories.
just
You
so
go into a
new.
GameStop, there's 70 copies of this game in,
Yeah.
in your GameStop. Like,
Yeah.
They shipped it for everything, and they shipped a lot of them.
but 20
Yeah.
for new is actually, I might buy it. Why not? That's so cheap.
Like new, it's wrapped. It's not been played.
Yeah.
It's not been
I'll
taken
put
out
that
of the
on my
box.
shelf.
It's also just a few years old. But hey,
Final thoughts.
at the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. Devil May Cry 4 is more Devil May Cry. Like it's if you enjoyed Devil May Cry, and I assume 2 and 3, I assume you're gonna enjoy Devil May Cry 4, unless you're a hardcore fan of the series and you have these nitpicks, or you really hate Nero and you really like Dante. Although you do get Dante, but it's at a later time. I just have fun playing these games, which is what they set out to do. It's not the most riveting experience. It's not the most groundbreaking. It doesn't have the deepest characters or the best told story or the best set pieces even. But it's fun. Like, that's what it is. It's flashy, fun, silly, over the top. I laughed a lot because of how ridiculous it is. The boss fights were fun. That first big demon Ifrit kind of boss, if you jump up, you can grab his face with your power fist and smash it into the ground. That alone is New Game Plus status for me.
Yeah.
All the other
It
stuff.
is a great fight.
It's the game is fun, flashy, silly, over the top. I don't think it's going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I had fun, and I think it's definitely New Game Plus worthy. It's just a lot of fun. Devil May Cry 4, New Game Plus for me.
I'll go as a contrasting voice. It is just a bit too ridiculous for me. I get that it's self-aware, but it's a lot. And I could forgive that, especially with the help of my inner, 6th grade self advocating that this game is cool somehow. But on top of that, there's a few annoyances that really got to me. I talked about the camera, some of the UI UX stuff I didn't especially love. But those aren't game breaking on their own. They're not like the reason to not give this game in GP. Ultimately, I don't think you're too far off. I think this is a know yourself kind of week. And in my mind, if completely bonkers combo chaining to feed your inner god complex is on the menu for what you want to play, then you're going to feast here. Like, it's an absolute buffet of that. But if it's not, then maybe you're like me and your old man heart will just wish that you were playing solitaire or something instead.
Which is crazy.
So, like, no NGP, but I'm recognizing that is mostly down to just preference. I think it's a fine, if certainly not top tier game. I am a fan of Nero. I know some people will like Dante more. I did have more fun than I expected, which means there is some hope for me, but it couldn't, the just silliness of the fun couldn't get me over the silliness as a distraction that kind of had me rolling my eyes more than rolling on the floor laughing. But I did do both. So, yeah, I don't know. No New Game Plus. That's a lot of words to say it. But, like, it's not like it's a bad game. It's just not for me.
Kenny must have liked Devil May Cry better than 4 because 7 years ago, I think he gave it his vote for New Game Plus status.
I did. It was less... Out. Well, it's both more and less ridiculous, but, like, in different ways.
It's up to you, Nolan.
I don't see myself not giving a Devil May Cry game New Game Plus because of basically what Dustin said. It's a high quality game. It is a Capcom product and it looks like it and feels like it and sounds like it. Very high quality. And then, yeah, the object of the game is super fun by definition. Do the coolest looking thing. That's literally the goal. It's not beat these difficult, like, Dark Souls bosses. It's not, like, it's literally, hey, how cool can you be?
Yeah, it's be awesome and have fun doing it is what they're selling.
Yeah, it's not a conversation anymore.
Which is so fun. And this fourth one made me very sad that I skipped those games. I've said it many times, but what I ended up doing was pausing my playthrough because I am absolutely going to go through these games.
I'll do it with you.
That'd be so fun. And of course, I give this New Game Plus. It's awesome. I heard some, like, when it was pulled, some people in Disco were saying, that not 4, like, not the controversial one. I was like, why? They weren't saying it was bad, but there was, like, controversy, and I didn't see that. Maybe it had something else to do with the original release or something, but this game's awesome. So, New Game Plus.
That means Devil May Cry 4 is New Game Plus certified, but what did you think? On our YouTube poll this week, 44% said yes, Devil May Cry 4 is worth playing today. 6% said no, go play something else. And 50% have never played it before.
50's high.
A deep sequel, we'll get some of that,
Well, that's true. 4 is...
Yep.
Yeah.
Many of you played along with us this week, wrote in your thoughts on the Retro Game of the Week. We'll include a few of them here. Super Oats said... Devil May Cry 4 is a fun game that isn't quite as great as its direct predecessor or sequel. The gameplay is amazing. The addition of Nero certainly is welcome and offers a more streamlined and simple approach to combat compared to Dante. What really hurts this game is the backtracking. When gameplay switches to Dante, you start off where Nero ended, and you literally backtrack through to where Nero started, even fighting the same bosses. Still a fun game, but the only reason I replay it is for the Bloody Palace mode. For any interested in getting the game, I recommend getting the special edition version, which has 3 extra playable characters: Virgil, Lady, and Trish.
I didn't realize you play through the same stuff. That's fine. I could see it because he plays different, so that's fine. And yeah, I think the special edition is such a good release of this game. I didn't play the original game, but it looks great and has extra stuff. It's what you would want out of something like that.
No, Nolan, I do think the general consensus is that this one is a little bit of a dip, which, if anything, should make you that much more excited about playing 2 and 3 and 5. You know, if this is the weakest entry in there and you had as much fun as you did, I think you're going to
Yeah.
be really glad that you go and get to revisit all the others as well.
Shane said, with the combos and stuff, as I bought them, I started to get some feeling of something entertaining, but not really enough to get me to stick this game through. Spectacle fighters have never really been my genre, so I don't really blame the game as much as myself. Perhaps I'd stick the game out if it was like 6 hours, but looks like it's closer to 12. So yeah, not really worth the time investment to me. Nice to finally try one of this rather famous series, even if it's apparently a less liked one, but ultimately not NGP from me.
Am I cooked for thinking 12 hours is short?
No, you just
your RPG perspective is coming through, is what it is.
12 short.
I think Shane mentioned something that just I really think for you to get the most out of this game, one, I understand that spectacle like fighters is not for everybody, but two, if you want the most out of this game, you really got to experiment with your combat system, because if you go in just trying to kill the enemies, and so it's slash or shoot, that's not going to be fun.
It's not hitting the same button, and you can buy different skill combo or moves that then I bought or someone else bought.
You have to give into the system, and if you do, you can chain together some really cool things, even if you're not a traditional fighter like I am. And then Garlisle said, this game was hated upon release, and I always thought it didn't deserve the hate. And while its reputation has indeed improved with time, I've actually gone a bit more lukewarm. Mostly, it's the character feel. Nero is weighty and simple, relying on getting a ton of upgrades and poorly explained mechanics like instant revving to feel good. Dante may be much more engaging later, but that's after half the game. This game's fine enough, but I think I'm spoiled by how much better later action games, from Bayonetta to Final Fantasy 16, feel to play.
Dude, FF16 is actually a Devil May Cry game.
Yeah, but we're talking nearly 2 decades of difference in time, so I don't know if that's.
It's spectacle.
Yeah, but we're talking. There's a lot of time in between the two. Thank you for sending in your thoughts on the Retro Game of the Week. You can do that each and every week to ngppodcast@gmail.com, or hop into our commentary channel on Discord. Include your thoughts on the Retro Game of the Week, and we will try to read your commentaries as a part of our episode next week. For now, we're going to set aside Devil May Cry 4, and we're going to randomly select the game that we're going to be playing for the next 7 days. Randomizing now. We are going to be playing a puzzle video game developed and published by Atlas. Where have I heard Atlas before?
We've played some Atlas games.
Bro.
No, I need you to remind me.
Atlas is...
Are you serious? Oh, you don't know? That's
anime
crazy.
games like Persona and...
Trauma Center?
Well, sure.
That's where I remember it from.
They made a lot of
sure.
anime games.
He said. Yeah, okay, interesting. This one, though, is not for a home console. It's for the Game Boy in 1989.
Whoa.
So like original.
I actually didn't know Atlas was that
like
old of a company.
Game Boy.
Yes, the original
not
Game Boy.
C or A or whatever else. Cool.
Was that short for color
and
or
advance? Yeah, that's what he was saying.
Wow, you know it by initial basis. Yeah, this game, you and your girlfriend Tammy are both out painting the town red when they decide to explore the unnamed city's subterranean labyrinth below. While down there, Tammy suddenly disappears, and you, along with your veggie friends, now have to find her in the labyrinth and bring her home.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about Quirk.
Of course, Quirk.
Also, did you just pronounce labyrinth with one syllable?
I think I did it differently both times, which is acceptable.
How do you read one syllable?
Well, you can't do it with one.
No, he fit it into one somehow.
It's just a sneeze at that point.
Yeah.
Find a copy of Quirk, known in Japan as Puzzle Boy, for your Game Boy and play it along with us this week.
Hey, this
Puzzle Boy.
Join us. Puzzle Boy. Join us in Discord. All right. Discord.gg/newgameplus. Carnage.
You can also support us on patreon.com like Tammy has done for the first time.
No way. Quirk's
that's
girl.
Oh, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that's
no,
crazy.
that would have been too funny. We did have some people join us as patrons for the first time this week, including Yorin and Mr. Thibs. So thank you guys for your support.
Thanks.
Of course, want to say a shout out to our director level supporters, Brochim, Siegfried, and Tins. and to our many producer level supporters as well. We would look through an underground cave if you went missing for you. So thank you. Alex, Marlene, Antonin, Ben,
We're being
Cody,
quirky.
Craig, Dagany, Dan Willett, Donner Party Bus, Garlisle, Hallex, Harold, Hey Brother, J. Robert, Jake, Jordan, Justin, Clint, Levi, Maximum, Megatroid, Miss Muso, Not Enough Dog, Radmac, Retroman, Sajan, Sasser, Scotty, Shane, Shauna, Snake Matic, Super Hypered, Swaggy, Taco Fish, Psycho Mantis, Thomas, Turtle, Unbedavable, and Zion. You guys keep us floating, and we appreciate it.
You can follow us on social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our episode artwork was created by our friend Dave. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play Quirk. Until then, I'm still Gloria.
I'm still doing really cool power fist things.
Claudie forever.
And this has been New Game Plus.